Everything that happens was once imagined. You might deny that, but it's true. It is. You can go back in time. You don't have to go back too far, and you'll find certain books, certain people's imaginations imagined certain things, and those things started to come about in our world. And they wrote a narrative, they wrote a story, and it started to happen. A great example is the Titanic story. Sure, there's differences, but the central story is the same that happened. It's a book called Futility. It speaks of a ship called Titan that was hit by an iceberg, and it sank, and there wasn't enough lifeboats on the ship. And then that happens in our reality here. And so to some degree, we should be careful about the stories we write. But it also allows us to have the ability to write any story we want. So if you want to test this idea, you'd have to create yourself a new story. You're always telling yourself some story, you're repeating something. Just as a mother reads a story to their child at nighttime, you're always sort of reading yourself a story, a bedtime story to yourself. And you're falling asleep dreaming up these dreams of yourself. And you're always thinking of yourself because you can't really escape I am. You're always focused on I am, on being itself. As Neville said, you don't see the being, but you see the conception that the being is conceiving itself to be. So you don't actually see the self, you see what the self is conceiving itself to be. And really all that is a story. And you can start writing a new story. It doesn't have to be, it can start off something small. As Neville said, that you can start off, you might say to yourself, if I can only make $25 an hour, and then you might start making 25, and then you realize, well, I need more than that. And if I can only make 50 an hour, and then you double it. Like if I can only make 100 an hour, it's like you just keep going because we outgrow that which we grow into. Just like clothing. You grow into certain clothes, and the next thing you know, the children's clothes that you once wore don't fit anymore. You need to buy larger clothes for your adult body. So we outgrow the things we imagine, but you can't stop imagining. So take it from me as somebody who's tried to stop. You can't escape being I am. And what you are aware of being starts to outpicture in your world. And I don't mean it even physically. You can just take it mentally in your mental world. What's outpicturing it is what you are aware of being. And so the words you're speaking inside, the images you're visualizing, all the activity that's happening, even the memories you're having, it's all used as a narrative, a story to tell about you. That's why we can go back to the past and resurrect things from the past that have been dead long ago, and we don't really know why we're remembering something. But that memory is revealing something about you, what you're currently imagining about yourself. It's not permanent. There's no permanency inside. You can move, you can change, you can adapt. It's just like you can develop, and let's say you go to create a new story, but it feels a little bit off. It doesn't feel right. Well, that's okay, but it's something you want, but you can't seem to gather that feeling. You can't seem to feel it to be real because it feels too far off. I mean, at one point I didn't like bitter things, and then over time I started to like the bitterness in food. I liked when things were bitter. I stopped liking the sweet things. Same is true for the mental words we speak and the visualizations we see. It's the same thing. At first it might feel distant and far off, but just keep bringing it near, keep feeling after it, keep bringing it towards you. Enjoy it and revel in it, and eventually it starts to become natural and normal. You start to enjoy it. At first it might feel bitter, but then you just keep tasting it, and then you develop your mental palate to this new story. And it might seem, people will always claim that these books or these certain acts of imagination from the past predicted future events, but they didn't predict it at all. You can say it was created, but really it was just manifested from a place that has all things done, which is your imagination. There's nothing you can't imagine. And that is what gets manifested in this world. It makes itself in this world. It duplicates itself. What is done in fancy duplicates itself in reality. And if you want to test that, you just start changing the story you're telling about yourself. You stop telling stories of your own shipwreck, and you start telling your own story of your own salvation. You become your own redeemer. And you redeem yourself into different states of being. It's always fascinated me how we always claim the word prediction. They predicted it. But what if you changed it and said that we created it? We manifested that. We brought that into being from a strong imagination. As Neville said, a strong imagination begets an event. What's a strong imagination? The way I would define a strong imagination is an imagination that has overwhelmed itself with an idea, where it's felt the reality. It's been persuaded, the imagination has been persuaded inside of the reality of a certain imaginal act. That is a strong imagination. Because you can think something and it really doesn't do anything. And again, when I say do anything, I don't mean externally. I mean internally. It hasn't really done anything. When you do something internally, you accept something internally, an unmistakable shift occurs. You've been persuaded. Maybe for a moment you were persuaded, but trust in that persuasion. Trust that you can persuade yourself into the reality of something new, into a new story. And if you can see that you're always believing in some story that you're giving yourself, the new story that you're making is made up of the same imagination. There aren't two gods that are creating the stories. There's not a bad God that creates the bad narratives, and there's not a good God that creates the good narratives. There's only one power that creates these narratives, whether good or bad. And these things are subjective to us, but I think we all can collectively agree on certain things are bad and certain things are good. But regardless, go to what you want. Write the story you want to write inside. We can become an author in this world. I can write a book as I have, but really the true authorship is within. It's within the words you're speaking. It's within the imaginal activity you're doing inside. You're actually imagining life within yourself. So what life are you imagining for yourself? When you are imagining certain things about yourself, you are actually imagining your life. You are seeing your life within yourself. That's where you actually live. And as Neville said, you have to find where you dwell, because where you dwell is where it starts to form out of. Your life starts to form from where you dwell. What's your dwelling place? Where do you live psychologically, as he would say? You might live in a home you don't want to be in anymore. But really, again, it's just a story. It's a story you've been telling yourself. It's a parable. And it represents something about you that you are convinced and been persuaded by, that you are this thing. And you've reaffirmed it and reaffirmed it and reaffirmed it. But at a certain point, I think you wouldn't be listening to this unless you've been wanting to outgrow the mental position you're in. It doesn't fit anymore. The clothing's too tight. You're looking for a new taste. And that taste you're seeking is not of food, and it's not of the physical cotton clothing. It's not that. You're looking for a new mental change. But the difficulty can figure out, well, how do I change, or what do I change internally? Well, we change what we are persuaded by. We're persuaded by certain things. I am internally. I have certain things I'm persuaded by, and you have certain things you're persuaded by. They might be different, but we're persuaded nonetheless. We're persuaded. Think of it this way. Imagination is like a large room. It's like a museum of ideas. And there's certain ideas that you're persuaded by, and certain ideas that I'm persuaded by in this museum. And the ones I'm persuaded by, I start to experience. And whether it's good or bad for me, that's up for me to determine. But I don't have to. Just like a museum, I'm not stuck at looking at this one thing in the museum. I can go to somewhere else, a different section inside this museum. So I view imagination like a land. It's an infinite land, sure, but it's like a land that you're walking down. And there's certain ideas that you can... It's like you can peek inside of it and see if you like it or not. And if you do like it, if you like the thought, believe you have it. Become persuaded that you have that thought. Become persuaded by being that in imagination. And you will start to become what you are in imagination externally too. That's just what happens. Esau follows Jacob. That's how it works. So the internal leads the external. And so I'm going to end that one here. And I do want to announce that I'm going live April 18th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to join, it's in the description. I also do one-on-ones. And if you want to purchase my book, which is now on Audible or paperback, it's in the description as well. But again, thank you guys for listening.